Alright, so part B of this video is going to be the exporting of the steel from Revit to Advanced Steel. Right, commonly be done by the shop detailer if he gets a model from the engineer or architect, or even possibly if you're working together with a structural engineer who wants to share his model, he may choose to export the SMLX file for you. Look, we come into Revit. You can see here in this particular case, I have again my 410UB 53.7, which has that interesting prefix as part of the name. You'll notice the family name and the size of the section. And again here, you'll notice the family name and the section size as well. So we would come in here, we'd export, and because there's no numbering required from within Revit, we literally just come in, give it a name, give it, say, export, and it will go and export everything out. Now, again, if we were to come into our folder where we're keeping this file, right, we find this file here, open the file with 7-zip, so we'd come here and say open archive, we'd go find the XML file that's inside the SMLX, and when you come into it, you would see that the standard name and the name is matching exactly the family name and the type name for the instance within that family. Pretty logical. Okay, just like before, we've now got our SMLX file. We need to now import that into Advanced Steel. So I need to clear out all the records in this database, in this table, so that obviously first time around everything is blank, right? So in Visual Studio, this is just my platform of choice. You can see I deleted all the records from the current database, and when we do a select statement, you can see it's totally empty, right? You can confirm this as well. If you come into Advanced Steel, come to the table editor, choose the open database, sit down and choose the GTC mapping.mdf, expand it out, look at the table, you can see it's empty and blank as well. Now, when I come to import my profile sections, let me just grab, alright, so let's go into here, Autodesk, and we're going to go Queensland, ADG, and we're going to go from Revit to AS. Right, so when we import this, obviously because our table is totally empty, we need to come and choose the section sizes that match this case, right? So in this case, I'm going to go to my universal beams, and I'm going to choose my 360 UB 57, pick OK, then choose the same thing again, but this time I'm going to choose my 180 22, 250 25.7, and so on and so forth, right? There's going to be other things in here, so we can ignore this, ignore that, ignore this, and then we'll grab this one as well, 410 UB53, yep, pick that. We'll go for the 610 as well, 610 UB101. Alright, so what we've got is we've got a series of elements in the database now. Now, if we come back and run our snippet of code again, you now see I actually have the exact translation of what I want from the GTC catalog and name, which if you remember, that's the SMLX file, to the Advanced Steel catalog and beam name itself internally, right? So what we need to do now is we need to translate that into a regular expression so that we can create this name from that name without having to worry about whether or not we called it UB17, ABCD, and so on and so forth. Okay, so just like the diagram shows, when we take the SMLX file into Advanced Steel, it checks this table inside the database to import. Now, we did that already in our previous example. So what I want to do now is convert all those single line entries into some form of regular expression to allow me to convert all the UBs in one single line, right? Now, to do this, we come in and we paste the test string into here. So all I did was take one cell just to check, right? And then we go through, and here you can see I've already completed the particular regular expression. So let's go through and have a look at it. So obviously it's going to grab all the A's and the B's, C's, D's, Z's, 2 characters of. Then it's going to grab either 1 or 2 numbers from 0 to 9. So you can see here, even if I put another number at the end of it, it still works and still picks up that number in there altogether. And this is quite interesting, because if I put lots of numbers in here and I say between 1 and 5, it still picks it up. If I say 1 and 3, it doesn't pick it up because it doesn't match, right? But as soon as I go back, now there's 3 numbers, that matches again, right? So essentially we want to pick up between 1 and 2. The reason we want 1 and 2 is because if we look back here and we look at our section size, you can see the largest number we have is 28. Therefore, I'm never going to have more than 99 sections. So that works out perfectly. And obviously the first bracket is that first instance of my or my percentage one. I've then got a white space, a dash, some white space. I've then got a bracket of 0 to 9 numbers, 3 count, right? So our smallest UB is 150 UB, so that's going to match, and the largest UB is 610, right? So that works as well. So essentially that is our second one, which is here, group 2, or our percentage 2. I then got some UB text, then just grab everything else afterwards, and that will be the remaining weight from our extraction, right? So %2 times %3 is essentially going to be our string in our database. So we come into here, and I would right click and I would edit the data. So let me just drag this out a bit. So essentially we don't want any of those. Alright, so what we want to do here is we want to come in and paste, copy that into here so that that becomes our database entry or our regular expression, right? So essentially the catalog here and here is correct. We know that. What we need to do then is we need to change this, and if you remember, we said %2 and %3. That's because we know that the weights in Advanced Steel match the weights in Revit, and you need to check that, but in this case I know that I've done it and it works. I can close that and save that, right? And just to check, I'll run that expression again. You can see I've only got 1 record in that database. So let's go out of Advanced Steel. Don't save that. And then we open up Advanced Steel again. Finish loading. Right, so come into here and we say create a new drawing. So click on the Start New Drawing component. This is just so that I can make sure that I know all the databases have been reread. The drawing's empty, never had anything imported into it. Choose Import and choose my file. Pick OK, and it should only ask me for the BP values because we don't want any of those BPs. All the UBs, you can see none of them they've asked me for any of them, and they've all imported just as we did before. This is how we can then speed up that process when we export and import between one and the other.